Move that there. Okay. Obviously got a big challenge tomorrow. Terrific basketball team coming in. Very similar, in watching them as when we prepared a little bit for Indiana last year, and I was standing up here and said they had a lot of answers. I mean, they got a lot of guys. They got a lot of depth. It's been, amazing watching them play and be able to battle through some of the injuries that they've had. They've done a great job of that. You have to have a certain level of mental toughness, I think, to be able to do that. But different guys have had knickknacks and injuries and been banged up, and they found a way to, fight their way through that with great toughness and to win basketball games. So they're really talented. They're great on the glass, as you'd always expect from a Michigan State team. Harris is terrific scoring the ball, does it a multitude of ways. Appling gets in the paint, makes plays for himself, and makes plays for others. I think they're great in transition. They execute well. Defensively, they're in the top 10, 15 in the country in both offensive and defensive efficiency. They're a really good basketball team. So, we've got our work cut out for us. The biggest thing for me is getting back to playing with some of the toughness that we were accustomed to seeing, earlier in the season, and even here somewhat recently. I did not think we had that whatsoever in the recent game against Purdue. We've addressed that. We've showed video. So we'll see. Guys have to make a conscious choice every day to be tough, not only physically but also mentally. And we've got some guys that I think are growing in that area. It's easier to do that sometimes when things are going well. When adversity hits, it's a little bit harder. And I think some guys are learning that you have to be really tough, maybe when things aren't going as well for you as you'd like. So, those are all lessons for our team that hopefully will make us better in the long run. Questions?
Addressed it. How do you address that?
That's between me and the players, but different ways. Physically, conversations, visually, video. They're very, very well aware of the fact that I thought we were soft. Let's put it that way.
What did you learn from the video of the Purdue game in terms of rebounding positioning?
We were too soft. I said after the game I felt like that we got thrown around like rag dolls. I certainly felt that way after watching the film, Rob. We didn't have the normal toughness that I thought we'd had in a lot of the other games, if not maybe all the games. Some of the games we had lost previously might have been because of, missing some shots or execution, or the other team played really, really well, or combinations thereof. But until the other day, I didn't think that, necessarily toughness had been, certainly the physical part of the toughness, had been an overwhelming issue in any game. The other day I thought it was.
In preparing for a team like Michigan State, do you plan your attack as if Payne's going to be there, or how do you do it as a...
Great question. Yeah, obviously he's been injured, missed a couple games here. He's a big part of what they do. But again, I give them a lot of credit. Harris missed some games as well. Other guys have had injuries, and they found the way. That's what good teams do. We're preparing as if he's playing, and then we'll adjust from there.
How's Ray doing, and is that going to be something that's going to be long term?
No, I don't think. He's doing well, feeling better. I thought yesterday he was better. I thought in the game he was, surprisingly better than what I had anticipated leading into the game. And again, Paul Schmidt and Ray deserve a lot of credit for that. Ray's worked really hard. Ray's, come in for treatment. I mean, I just left the facility. He's shooting over there right now, so it must be feeling okay. And he had treatment right before that, so he's had multiple treatments every day. Ray wants to compete, and he cares a lot in a lot of areas, whether it's academics, whether it's basketball, whether it's treatment, whether it's, which is what makes him a good player.
Tracy was getting stretched by Mike and then Paul during the other game. Does he have a...
Yeah, just some, little odd stuff. I mean, this time of year, everyone's banged up to a degree. I told those guys that yesterday. I mean, this is Big Ten basketball. It's January. Teams have been lacing them up a little bit earlier than normal because we all started in September rather than October. And, you've got to play through that. just little knick-knack stuff, tendonitis stuff with some guys, all that, different things, back, maybe a little bit tight or a hamstring, but that's normal. I mean, that's no different than, any team that I've coached this time of year. A lot of it's how mentally tough are you, and then you can't let the focus be on, how you're feeling or your injury or how things are going for you, Rob. You got to focus on, executing your role, doing your job, and focus on the team, look outward rather than inward.
Done anything with Ray the last couple of games? He's struggling a little bit.
That's tough for me to say, Jeremy, just because of what we were talking about with the. I don't know. I mean, teams have schemed against him before. I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you he'd like to play a little bit better. I think he can, and I think he will. We got a lot of guys that are like that right now that they've shown me that they can play better than what they're playing right now, and just got to fight through it. They got to be tough mentally, tough physically, and kind of work their way out of it. That's the reality of it. There's no magic wand. You got to just kind of stay the course.
Talk a little bit about Tom Izzo and what he's meant to Big Ten basketball, and maybe how well you know him.
Well, we obviously know each other, but I would say the thing that, and again, I've been kind of alluding to it, Steve, throughout the press conference. I mean, you want to talk about not having excuses. I mean, that's not how they operate. I've always admired their toughness. They've had guys, as I said earlier, banged up here and there, and they just play, and I think they play the game the right way. They play with toughness, both mentally and physically. They're always disciplined. They execute well, and you can tell that the toughness part comes from him. They're a reflection of him. So, you look at their consistency over the years, and I think those are the things that probably stand out the most.
I guess he's struggling with a shot a little bit. Is there something you've seen on film that can help, or is it just he's missing?
No, I think it's that whole deal. I think you can. And he works really, really hard, and you can make him in practice, and it certainly beats the alternative of not working hard or not making him in practice. But I think at some point, I think Clark Kellogg said it best. You get a lot of times a player gets his ultimate confidence from games. So you just got to kind of hang in there, and as I told him yesterday, I mean, with what he does here as a student, with who he is as a person, with his work ethic, with who he is as a teammate. He exemplifies what we want to be about. He's an extension of, of who we are and how we do things and all that. And he's my guy, and that's not changing. He's we're riding with him. I'll ride with guys like that if they're struggling. That happens. But it's easy to ride with Tim because he does all the right things.
Coach, going through adversity and slumps is pretty common. Does the fact that you went through it last year and were able to bounce back, does that kind of help you a little bit?
Yeah, probably a little bit for the veterans just because they've been through it before. But I just think so much of it's a mindset. You got to be mentally tough, and you got to look outward rather than inward. I said that earlier with Rob's question there, but I just think a lot of it's being mentally tough. We told him, this is hard. I mean, this is or everybody else would be doing it, Jim. It's 18 rounds. We've said that before, and you got to stay the course. It's not always pretty all the time. I think a lot of times the team that's the most determined, that's able to stay together, that's able to remain tough, can fight through some things and do that well. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think Michigan State's a reflection of that. They've been able to do that. I just like to see us be a little bit more mentally tough and a lot more physically tough than we were the other night.
Getting you some boards when you were really struggling to. Did he earn any more trust? Or?
Oh, sure. Yeah, him and Kendrick have for sure. I thought those guys did a good job the other day. I thought even Tate was good in the minutes that he played. Nunn was good. Hill was good. Yeah, they're earning more and more every day. Mav, I thought, was not very physical when he got in the game. I thought they moved him around like a rag doll, and then he responded, and I thought got much better as the game went on as well. But yeah, those guys are, they're getting better and growing, and we're going to need to continue to have them do that, for us to be as good as we can be and to hopefully reach our potential here as we head down the stretch.
We have any questions from the phone lines for Coach? down there? All right. Jenny, you do things in the off season, you know, the SEAL training, that kind of thing to improve mental toughness. But how do you do that during the season? Is it just a trial by fire?
Well, you know, fortunately, we're in a league where that's required. I mean, just, you know, this is big boy ball. I mean, you got to have it. I mean, obviously we do things to develop it and we talk about it, and you know, you have to be able to handle success well. You have to be able to handle adversity well if you want to be consistent. You know, if you want to be consistent, and you know, it is. You get tested all the time. I mean, you get tested now. You get tested when you win. You get tested when you get beat. You get tested in practice. Those guys are tested all the time. You know, again, I think it's more, you know, it's so much more mental in my opinion than it is physical when you make that mental choice. You know, we weren't very physical the other day. You know, yesterday we were really physical. Why? So why'd you choose today? You know, that's a choice. You know, it's not like our guys can't be that way. They've been that way on multiple occasions. You know, it's a choice.
John, but the last 10, 15 years, I think the Big Ten is one of the last of the BCS conferences and draft picks, first rounders, things like that. You've probably played 4 or 5 lottery picks, and this year it seems like the Big Ten's getting a lot more talent than maybe it has the last 10, 15. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, Jeremy, on that. I think sometimes that stuff is cyclical, but no question, consistently, especially here lately, I mean, our conference has been top to bottom, really good. We got great coaches. I've said that before. We got great players in our league. You know, there's, you know, I mean, it's challenging, which is what makes it fun. It's what you sign up for. You know, I don't know if you'd say why now and not. You know, I can't put. I think there's a lot of continuity and stability in the league right now. I certainly think, you know, our leadership in the conference has done an excellent job. You know, whether that's the Big Ten Network or, you know, we have, you know, a really special deal with that. You know, whether it's the coaches, the players, the fans, you know, you get that statistic every year where, I don't know how many it's in a row, is it 30-something, you know, in a row where the guys that play in our league play in front of the most fans every year. I mean, people care about it, you know, they're big-time environments, you know, so I think you start putting all those things into the melting pot and you stir it up, and that's what you're, you know, that's the byproduct and result of that. But I do think it starts with great leadership. You know, we have good leadership in our conference. I do think that makes a difference.
There's a lot of talk about toughness the last couple of games not being where you wanted it to be. How would you assess
The last game.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to throw that other one in there because we were tough.
Okay.
It may not be what people want to hear because they want to know why, but that wasn't any issue whatsoever. But the last one, it was an issue.
How would you assess the togetherness coming off?
Oh, we're fine there. We got good kids. You know, I do think part of being mentally tough is staying together, turning the focus outward rather than inward. But, you know, I don't see guys making excuses or, you know, pointing the fingers at their teammates. In fact, almost all those guys are saying, "My bad. You know, I could play better. You know, dang, I should have got that done." You know, we don't have guys that are like that. You know, so that part's a blessing. That's why I've said all along we've got good guys. You know, they're fun to work with. They work hard. We've got good character. You know, we got guys that care about the team and their teammates, and they're good teammates. And we got guys, you know, yesterday I thought our leadership was good again. I wasn't surprised. Those guys bounced back, and the older guys were really loud in practice. And we don't have any issues there. It was more of, I think, a conscious choice where are we going to be physically tough or not. I thought they took it to us in that department the other night.
On that point, Tracy talked the other night about, you know, feeling like it's, you know, coming upon him to rally the troops, and, you know, after a game like that. Does he be vocal like that in practice?
He shoulders a lot of it, which good leaders do. You know, he would tell you that it's ultimately his responsibility to have the team ready to play. It's his responsibility to get to other guys. And, you know, I appreciate that, but it's not just him. You know, he needs some help. You know, I think some of the other guys have been vocal, maybe not quite as vocal as he is. He shoulders a lot in terms of that responsibility, which is what good leaders do, you know. And, you know, he's come a long way in that area. You know, I've been really proud of him. in that area and multiple other areas as well. I mean, he's a tough kid. I've said that before. You know, he's a guy that's fun to coach because his effort's good, his leadership's great. You know, he does a good job in school. I mean, he's fun to be around.
Talk a little bit about Appling. He's been a big part of the program.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about Appling that's interesting, Jim, is I think he's really improved a lot. You know, he's gotten better throughout his career. I love his toughness, and I love the fact that he kind of gives them, you know, a disposition of, you know, determination, and I like that. He makes them others better. He can really pass it. He's multi-dimensional offensively. He defends. He competes. You know, I think he's, you know, you could make a case if it's ended today that he, you know, might be the, you know, if you base it on, hey, they're at the top today. I know there's a lot left to go, but you'd say, hey, if you had to vote for, you know, that guy today, most valuable player today, I very well, I mean, I haven't really looked at it, but just thinking off the cuff, I very well could see myself voting for him. You know, he means a lot to their team. I've really, you know, enjoyed watching him play on film. I love the way he competes.
Last chance for any questions from the phone lines for Coach Groce.
Hey, John, it's Steve Greenberg. Just looking at the schedule last season, I wasn't on hand to see it, but there was a stretch when you lost 6 of 7 in the Big Ten and were able to pull yourself out of it. Do you see any similarities with where, you know, this team is now and where that team was then?
You know, I haven't really thought about that, Steve, to be honest with you, because, you know, this is a different year, you know, different team. We have a game tomorrow. You know, I don't look at it as like a 6 of 7 game stretch or a 5 game stretch or a, you know, I'm obviously more focused on tomorrow's game and, you know, making sure we have a good practice today and getting a little bit better. You know, I'm not, you know, if I don't have that crystal ball, you know, I'm not able to foreshadow or foresee, like, you know, how's this game turn out? How's 3 games from now turn out? How's 4 games? I mean, I don't know that. All I can do is help our guys get a little bit better every day, continue to work on being a little bit tougher than we were the other night, and just focusing on one game at a time, because it really doesn't do us any good to, you know, think about 5 games from now or stretches of games. The one thing I do think, though, is and I think someone asked the question earlier, you know, I think maybe it's Jim in the back, you know, I do think the veterans can draw from that experience of what it's like to go through maybe, you know, a tough stretch or tough times and be able to fight through some things. I think experience, as I've said before, is a great teacher. So they've done that before. You know, some of our older guys have seen a lot of, you know, the good and the bad, and so they've able to handle that a little bit better. I do think they draw from that experience, but, you know, I don't know if I've even thought about, like, hey, similarities from last year to this year, or, you know, this stretch or that stretch. You know, we're more concerned about the game tomorrow.
Thanks.
Sure.
Anything else from the phones? Any final questions here in the room for Coach?
You got a memory of Eddie Johnson, Michigan State?
You know, in '79, I was young. I've obviously I've seen the play on video. I remember watching him play. Obviously, when you play in the NBA for 17 years, I mean, it's a long time. You know, he's our all-time leading NBA scorer from Illinois. You know, you retire as the, you know, 32nd at that time. When he retired, he was the 32nd all-time leading scorer in the NBA. You know, I mean, that's 6th man of the year, 21 points a game one year, playing 27 minutes. That's pretty microwave-like. So he obviously had a great career, not only here, but, you know, at the NBA level. I've had a chance to get to know him a little bit. He did some games for the Big Ten Network last year. So, you know, I'm looking forward to spending a little bit of time with him. He's going to get a chance to interact with our team today, which I'm looking forward to. I know our guys are as well. So, but we're glad to have him back. You know, obviously his jersey's honored and up in the rafters. He's one of our all-time greats. So, you know, it should be a special weekend in that regard.